to be nice to get a sweep this afternoon.
Sure would. And very quietly, the Cardinals have got right back in not only the wild card race, but in the Central Division. They trail by 5 games in both areas.
Let's take a look at the lineup for the Atlanta Braves. Michael Bourne, the former Astro, then Jack Wilson, been with Seattle and the Pirates, and was with St. Louis originally. Chipper Jones, the future Hall of Famer. Dan Uggla, he's been on a tear. Freddie Freeman, what a great rookie season he has had. Eric Hensky, David Ross, Jason Hayward, the Rookie of the Year from a season ago, and the veteran Tim Hudson is on the mound for Atlanta. Jake Westbrook, an Atlanta native, gets the start for the Redbirds.
Strikeouts are good. He had tied his career high with 9 his last outing, but ground balls are better. That's what he's known for. And you want him to go deeper in the game, because when he goes 6 innings, it usually translates into a win. The Cardinals are 12-3 this season when he throws 6+ innings. And continue the starters' trend. The last couple weeks, the starters have been pitching very well. Westbrook was part of that. He got a loss his last time, but he only gave up 2 earned runs, 3 runs total in 6 innings.
The defense behind Jake today, out in left, Matt Holliday, John Jay in center, Lance Berkman in right. Descalso, Furcal, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield. And our battery today, Westbrook and Molina. That's presented by Dobbs. Tony La Russa, saw him on the feature talking about the Jack Buck poem in 9/11. And the only remaining player on the current roster from that 2001 team is first baseman Albert Pujols. Freddie Gonzalez has done a heck of a job. He takes over for Bobby Cox, who is headed to the Hall of Fame, and looks like they very well could be headed to postseason play.
Well, they're a little concerned, and when I said the Cardinals trailed by 5 in the wild card and the division, the most important, they trail on the loss column by 5 games. Both Atlanta and Milwaukee have the same record. Michael
Bourne hitting .302, 2 home runs, 46 driven in. Pitch taken inside.
Michael Bourne's had quite a series. He's been a real table setter and a big addition, changed the complex of their team since coming over from Houston.
37 games with the Atlanta Braves, hitting .297. He leads the major leagues with 52 steals this year. 78 degrees here in downtown St. Louis. Busy sports day here in town with the Rams, their opener down the street, and the Cardinals still in a pennant race. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Jake's pitched better on the road, but he is a Georgia native, and you know he'd like to send a message back to the Peach State with a victory here today.
A little bit low and inside. With his speed, you have to respect it. So Descalso is playing in. Now with 2 strikes, he backs up the 3-2. Hit to first. Pujols is there. 1 away.
It's really what you want to see is those ground balls from Westbrook. Control the pitch count a little better. Get it down so he can go deeper into the game.
Finale of this 3-game series here this afternoon. Cardinals won the series with Atlanta back in late April and early May at Turner Field. The Braves have actually lost 6 straight games here at Busch Stadium. Here's Jack Wilson. We saw him for a number of years, a slick infielder, very good glove man with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
It's a .292 since the All-Star break. But he wasn't playing a lot at the end with Seattle. And getting a chance to play every day, seems like with Atlanta, started all 3 games in this series.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Line to Pujols for out number 2. September 11th, we were 10 years ago in Milwaukee, series with the Brewers. And just like everybody else in sports at that time, you were stuck in that city for the most part. And Major League Baseball, it took a little bit for them to decide exactly what they wanted to do. Do you play the games? Do you sit out a week? Do you do 2 weeks? When is the right time to come back? And if you missed the pregame show, and I'm sure we'll talk about it with Jim Hayes, but just a remarkable soundbite from Chipper Jones. Atlanta was in New York to face the Mets, first game back. And it was Mike Piazza with one of the most famous home runs in Mets history the day that baseball and sports returned at Shea. There's no scorer. Let's take a look at Tony La Russa's lineup for Kyle, Jay, and Pujols, followed by Holiday, Perkman, Molina, Schumacher, Descalso, and Jake Westbrook. Cardinals face a tough right-hander in Tim Hudson.
Well, he's a sinker slider. He's got a real good sinker. The splitter is kind of a decoy pitch. Everyone's worried about the splitter, but yet he only throws it about a half dozen times a game. And he has a 5.25 ERA in 10 career starts against the Cardinals, 3-3 record.
All right, Al, have you seen enough from Furcal? You say he has moved up on the list of guys you want to bring back or should bring back? I
think so. You know, you can't pay the $12 million plus option, but you can bring him back. He's hit .245 with the Cardinals, but I think you got to throw that out. You got to look at the last 10 days, and he's really been an igniter in this series. Really upgraded the defense, and the offense is coming.
That tails outside 3-0. The Braves know all about Rafael Furcal. Got his start in the major leagues with Atlanta.
He was outstanding there, but he's had a lot of injuries when he was with the Dodgers. The Cardinals picked him up from.
3-1.
Missed 63 games this year with a broken or the fractured thumb and an oblique muscle strain. Tim Hudson also has a 1.65 daytime ERA.
I know you love looking at those daytime ERAs.
I like looking at the nighttime ERAs too
when they're good. The foul ball off the foot of Furcal, so the count is full.
You know, some guys, their ERA gets really high during day games. And we got two sinker ballers here. You can see this could happen to a lot of hitters, fouling balls off their foot. And it hurts.
Calling the balls and strikes this afternoon, Chris Guccione. Mark Wegner down at first, Mike Everett at second. Mike Winters is the crew chief. He's down at third. Furcal puts it in play. Looks like he's running fairly well. And they get him by a step. The defense behind Hudson this afternoon. Penske, Bourne, and Hayward is in right. Chipper Jones at third base, Wilson at short, Uggla at second, Freddie Freeman at first, and it's Hudson and David Ross. Our Dobbs defense today for Atlanta.
You know, Dan, both these starting pitchers have great sinkers. They're both ground ball specialists. One way to kind of combat that ground ball is to get up in the box. Try and hit it before it starts sinking.
And Jay picks up a base hit past Dan Uggla and into center field. One out base hit for John Jay. Our Toyota keys to the game, and some of the big names in this lineup with big numbers against Tim Hudson. And right now we'll see Pujols, who owns 3 homers against the righty of the Atlanta Braves.
448 average. Three points away in the batting average, 12 RBIs away from the magic 100 in RBIs.
One out, runner at first. Up and into Pujols. Tim Hudson was selected by Oakland back in 1994, did not sign, then selected again by the A's in 1997. He was a terrific college pitcher at Auburn. Pujols hits it to third. It's a double play ball. Out at second, out at first, double play. 5-4-3. Ground balls could be big today. No score after one. No score as they move to the top of the second. Disturbing trend, without doubt, this year for the Cardinals, and in a way for Albert Pujols, all the double plays.
No doubt about it. The Cardinals by far, they've hit into now 156 on the season. Albert with one more, that's 29 He went nearly a month without a double play ball, and then he's had like 3 in this series.
Here's a grounder for Kyle to his left. Look at this. Fires a strike to first.
That's why you say bring him back. That defense, great range, and he has a cannon for an arm. Up the middle, spins on the outfield, and a Plaza Tire Foxmo can.
Nicely done going to his left.
Spin and throw. You know, because of that arm strength, he doesn't have to panic and rush the throw. He can still take time.
Here's Freddie Freeman. Most years you'd think he'd be the Rookie of the Year, and he might be this year. You don't know. A lot of people are looking at the closer of the Atlanta Braves, Kimbrel. For obvious reasons, he's been terrific at the back end of games, but he's hitting .296 on the year. That's first among rookies. 19 home runs, tied for first, and 70 driven in. That is #1 overall in the National League.
He leads rookies in average, hits, RBIs, and doubles. Pretty hard to ignore that.
Inside out swing, hits it to the opposite field. And Holiday makes the catch for out number 2.
You know how I said a lot of times with a sinker baller, you want to, one option would be to move up in the batter's box and try and get it before it sinks. Looks like a lot of these players want to be deep in the batter's box and maybe get it after it sinks.
Pinsky trying to bunt his way on and pushes it foul.
They almost were putting an extreme shift on, so Scalzo really hadn't gotten to his position that he's going to be well off the third base line. And that's why Hinsky just trying to drop down that bunt. But I talked to Larry Parrish, who's the hitting coach for Atlanta, and I said, how do you hit a sinker baller? He said something that I really hadn't heard much. He goes, you try and hit the bottom half, meaning you elevate the ball. You're trying to get it in the air. If you hit the top half, obviously you're going to hit down on it and hit a ground ball. But it's a little easier for the left-handed hitters to elevate the ball.
This is elevated out to left. Holiday makes the catch. Westbrook 6 up, 6 down. Matt's hitting an even .300 this year. Gets it out to deep left field. At the track, it's at the wall, and it is caught. Oh, what a catch out in left. Takes the home run away. An outstanding play in left field. Eric Hinsky robbing Matt Holliday.
You don't think of Eric Hinsky as a defender. You think of more of a pinch hitter, a power guy, and he goes over the wall to bring that one back in. He skies, gets his halfway up his forearm over the wall, and makes a tremendous play, robbing Holliday of a home run. Both these clubs are very good when they get a lead, and the first scoring first usually translates in who's going to win the game.
What's interesting about the configuration of the walls here in St. Louis, and other ballparks do have this, but the fencing does go in about a half a foot. So the outfielders told me before, Al, you almost jump a little bit before you would on, say, a solid wall where you know exactly where the padding is. And in this case, you've got to jump a little bit earlier so you can get above that padding on top of the wall right there.
If you get out there in the bullpen areas, it'll give. Get it down the lines, it's concrete behind it. But he definitely got over that wall and brought it back in.
2 balls and 1 strike on Berkman. Starting to get hot again. Average at .292. Rips it out to left. Penske makes the catch. He's busy this half inning. Mentioned that story about Chipper Jones and the Braves being at Shea first game back. And I don't know if you remember, Al, seeing that home run hit by Mike Piazza, but it's been talked about with all the great sporting moments that you've seen in New York in their history. But it truly was one of the greatest home runs in the history of the Mets organization.
And Chipper was saying, I'm out in the field thinking, well, if Piazza hits a home run here, this place is going to go crazy. And when Piazza hit it,
there's a ground ball and a base hit.
Okay to lose a ball game, and it was probably the right thing for it to happen.
It was in the bottom of the 8th for the Mets, and literally the stadium was shaking.
Part of the healing process started here in St. Louis with Jack Buck and the poem on national television. It was the first game in the return, but that was the healing, started the healing in New York with that home run.
1 ball, 1 strike on Skip Schumacher, 2 outs, and a runner at first. Short lead at first by Yadier Molina.
He's got those real quick feet.
Hudson, a guy that can dominate the opposing lineup, but here early on, the Cardinals have had some pretty good swings against him. 2 balls and 1 strike. Descalso on deck.
With the injuries the Braves have to their pitching staff, Hudson would be the ace and would start the first playoff game. They're starting a lot of rookies because of injuries to a couple of their veteran starters.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Just seems like in the great run that they had, they were never shy. Bobby Cox was never shy about using rookies, using younger players. And his theory, he told me, he said, they're good enough to be here and play at this level, I'm playing them.
Talked about this the first 2 games of the series, but they believe in pushing. They don't want to send someone to a level that they can't handle, but they, if they determine that you can do it, they're going to push you a little bit. And they've got a lot of youngsters on this big league roster right now.
In doing that, though, you have to be so careful not to bury a player.
That's the part, and they look at it on an individual basis.
Strikeout of Schumacher, no argument. What a play out in left field from Eric Hinsky, robbing Matt Holliday. Keeps it scoreless after 2. Here's David Ross, and he pops one foul and out of play against Westbrook. Jim Hayes has joined us here in the booth for our 3rd inning. Along with Al Rabowski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Ross hitting .264. Al talked about where the Cardinals are on the loss side with both Atlanta and Milwaukee, so it's been a surge where they're getting back in this race. And Jim, you've got veterans that have been through this, a guy like Lance Berkman.
Certainly he was, through very similar circumstances while a member of the Astros. He said he loves the way the team is loose and has stayed loose. I said mentally it's almost a reward when you see the lead shrinking when you're putting together a little run. I said, does that help out psychologically? And he said, not really. He said there's a downside. He said once that lead shrinks, then you see what this team is all about. He said It's easy to be loose when you feel like you really have nothing to lose. Now we'll see how the team reacts.
Grounder that's pulled foul.
That's kind of what you talk about, is you'd like to get close enough to Milwaukee and Atlanta and just see if they can handle the pressure. But that's also one of the things we said. Maybe the Cardinals would get to a point where they'd feel like they're out of it, play loose, and just see what happens, and they've picked up ground.
You think about it, when they've never had an extended run, but when they have rattled off 3-4 wins, it didn't seem to make a dent in the standings, but now they're seeing that lead shrink down.
It's 8 or 9 times they've won 4 games, trying to win for the 5th, 5 straight for the first time all year. It's hard to win a division if you can't win more than 5.
First strikeout of the afternoon for Westbrook. Make sure to stop by and the Step Up to Plate against Hepatitis C testing event on Saturday, September 24th. It'll be at the Ford Plaza inside Busch Stadium. You get facts, get tested, and learn all about hepc.com/baseball.
I'm glad to see you guys back in the booth together. Last time we were in the third inning where you were together, you said that was it for the season. I got a little emotional. Good to see you guys together.
Well, we did think that was the case.
Is this an encore performance?
Well, right now, this is Hayward. I thought I was working with Rick. He thought he was working with Rick, so we're working together. That's how it works.
Rick told me last night he was doing the post game. I said, so I went home and called Dan, texted him and everything to make sure he knew he had the game. He knew he had the game. He just thought he was working with Rick.
So he got back to you via text. Sometimes Dan doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, he does me immediately.
All the time. Usually never a hesitation with Al. 3-1.
But you have a problem?
Oh, yeah. He never texts me back. Always blames it on phone issues.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Hayward rips it into center field. That's a base hit. Jason Hayward with 13 home runs, 40 RBIs, and injury-plagued year at times. It's been done. The largest division deficit and also the wild card in there overcome with 17 games remaining. Remember when the Mets coughed it up in 07. You saw the bottom portion of that. Minnesota. That's bunted foul.
Everybody remembers 64. Phillies. The Cardinals had to overtake 2 or 3 clubs to win in 64.
It's happened, but as Berkman was quick to point out, still a long shot. He understands that. Well, you have a chance. You have a chance.
His team in 06, the Houston Astros, if they probably had if the Cardinals had an extra weekend of games, they'd probably lose out.
I agree.
They were limping into, the 183 games. One end up slipping in there, but then they got healthy and they played the best during the playoffs and won their 10th World Championship.
One of the biggest hits of that season was Scott Spezio and his triple against Cordero that tied a game up, and then the Cardinals eventually won. If he doesn't pick up that triple, they may not have won and gotten into postseason play. Tim Hudson hitting 131. 28 games that he's appeared in this year. A little larger lead this time by Hayward. Bunt is down. Only play for Pujols is to go to first. Sacrifice is good.
Hayward finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting last season. And he's kind of tailed off a little bit this year. Had a couple injuries.
So sacrifice good by Hudson. And it brings in Michael Bourne. Began the year with Houston.
How shallow the outfield is. A little bit risky with his great speed. If he hits one in the gap, might circle the bases.
From a fan standpoint in Houston, you wonder what draws them back to the ballpark next year. The guys like Pence and Bourne were fan favorites, traded away, and you talk about cleaning everything up. They just said, we're starting over.
The interesting thing is the team is for sale, and they had a prospective buyer, and he has not been approved yet by Major League Baseball, but you would almost think that they ran some of these deals by him. A former St. Louis businessman is trying to buy the Astros.
I would think that would be a definite.
Well, how could you agree to get rid of some of your best players?
Unless you're just trimming payroll, so whatever the price is lower, and then you start fresh once you take over.
3-1 the count here on Bourne. No score. We're in the top of the third.
Mott did a nice job closing out the game last night facing Bourne, who has been very tough on the Cardinals.
Jason Mott getting more looks at the back end of games, Jim, and really has made a stand to be your closer next year.
absolutely one of the guys they're considering. But you talk to Mott about the difference between being, say, an eighth inning guy and being the guy to close it out. Is there a difference? And kind of what you'd expect from Mott, who's an unassuming guy. He says there's no difference to him at all.
After he fell behind, a strikeout for Westbrook. No score midway through 3. And Jim is going to try to fly back because, Al, all he has to do is the pregame on Saturday, and we'd like to get him back for hockey on Saturday night.
Why not?
Well, flights are real expensive out of Philly.
You can afford it. You can afford it. You know, he's getting a new house.
So we've heard. 0-2 here on Descalso.
Dan floated me alone. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a kid now, and he's going to get a new house.
Had the kid a while, Al.
Yeah, we've heard.
Thanks for keeping up.
I was tired.
He's doing great. You know, one of the things I thought was intriguing when I talked to Chipper for the pregame show about playing in the wake of 9/11 in New York. Can you imagine? You're a ball player. Admittedly, he says none of us wanted to play, and you're out there on the field, and you're watching airplanes overhead, wondering if one of them is going to be heading for you. And he said as the game went on, he realized that this was part of returning to normalcy. And Piazza went deep, and he felt good about it.
That hits Descalso, but a breaking ball on a 1-2 pitch. Fox Tracks this half inning brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. And he actually said he did not want his family with him in New York.
Great for him.
Yes.
Didn't know what was coming. No one did.
So Descalso is hit by the pitch. And it brings in Westbrook.
Chance to help his own cause. Obvious bunting situation.
Tell you what, when the Cardinal starters talk about who's the best hitter, and you look at Westbrook's numbers, 8 RBIs. Stands out. Of course, 4 of them came on one swing of the bat.
You know, he's second in the National League in RBIs, a pitcher.
Ross only play to go to first. The sacrifice is good. Advancing on the play, Descalso to second. We go back to the top of the lineup in for Cowell.
As a tire service, going to bring you the Fox Exmo cam as Westbrook does his job, gets that ball out there on the grass, deadened it perfectly. Descalso out in scoring position for Cowell.
For Cowell, grounded out to Hudson his first time up. Runner at second, 1 down. Breaking ball and a strike. We were in Atlanta a year ago and we saw Tim Hudson day before he was pitching. We were at the ballpark early and he was throwing from the back part of the mound and throwing up the slope of the mound. And you'll notice with his leg drive, it's very exaggerated. He's not a very big guy. Here's a ground ball to the right side. And by going up the slope, in his mind, once he was on top of the mound, over accentuated the point of his leg drive to the plate. So that's one of the drills that he does in between his starts, which you and I thought was fairly unique.
Well, we thought it was unique, and I couldn't figure out what it did. As long as he knows what it does and he's comfortable with it, then it has value.
You're a big proponent of the long toss, right?
Absolutely.
Strengthening the arm by throwing longer distances.
Absolutely.
John Jay with a single first time up. Runner at third, no score. Big gap in right center. Jones is in on the grass at third, and the first pitch is a strike. One ball, one strike. Pujols on deck if John Jay can extend this inning. A gorgeous afternoon here in St. Louis. Big crowd on hand.
See what John Jay's doing this season. Pretty remarkable. You wouldn't expect a guy like that to have 10 home runs to this point. I think he changed some minds. Average dipped a little when Ludwig was dealt last year, and then this year when Colby went, average dip, but he kind of righted the ship here.
And he's hit by the pitch. Hudson certainly not trying to do that to bring up Pujols with 2 runners on.
Now they're breaking ball, so Scalzo, who's on at third base, you see watch the dirt portion of his lower leg, right there on the shin, almost like the dirt was a target. But you do not hit 2 guys to bring up Albert Pujols.
Cardinals very well could have the lead, with the exception of great catch out and left by Eric Hensky. Took a home run away from the man on deck, Matt Holliday. First time up, Pujols bounced into a double play.
We mentioned that coming in, Albert, 448 average with 3 home runs against Hudson. He's now 13 for 30. There's 0 for 1 today.
First pitch to Albert. Breaking ball and a strike that catches the outside corner.
Hudson, last 12 years, been one of the bigger winners. I think 3rd most wins in baseball since that time.
Zito, Mulder, Hudson, the big 3 from Oakland.
And Zito's just had a lot of trouble since he left Oakland. Mulder's out of the game, and Hudson's still pitching.
Hudson has dealt with his share of injuries over the years. He another one of those guys that has come back from Tommy John surgery.
You just saw it inside his elbow when he was putting the hat on. You could see the scar.
1 ball, 1 strike on Pujols. This at bat, everything's been away.
A little bit fooled right there on the check swing. And the strikes on the breaking ball. Back away. I guess if you think you can get it out on the base paths and not throw a pitch to Albert, good idea.
Flash the signs from inside the dugout to Ross and now to Hudson. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Pujols. Into center. Bourne coming on. He won't get it. Drops in for a base hit. And a 1-0 lead for St. Louis.
RBI, giving the Cardinals a 1-0 lead.
Not sure if he broke his bat. Looked to be off the end of the bat.
You know, a missed location, Dan. Ross had set up inside, and then the ball's away. Bourne, a 2-time Gold Glover, but he never got anywhere near it. Hit it right off the end of the bat. And there you see the first run scored.
Safe at home, safe and secure in New York life. Daniel Descalso. And here is Holliday, who was robbed of a home run back in the 2nd inning. Runners at first and second with 2 outs and a 1-0 Cardinal lead.
Got a little air underneath that line drive. Send it over the fence.
That's what Tony always says about Holliday and Pujols. Line drive hitters that happen to hit home runs.
And they're high average line drive hitters that, as you said, you know, they hit home runs. Not that they're looking for home runs.
They hit a lot of home runs, though.
Absolutely.
And a 1-0 pitch. Two balls and no strikes with 2 outs, 2 on.
Holliday's had 6 straight seasons of 20 home runs or more. Albert, in 11 seasons of the big league, all 11 seasons hit at least 30 home runs.
Hinske looked very agile in tracking that ball down. A big guy.
The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. Berkman on deck.
Almost look cat-like, huh?
I wouldn't go that far.
On 3-0. Ball 4 as that scoots away. Bases loaded for Berkman. John Jay, Albert Pujols, and Matt Holliday all aboard for Lance Berkman. Lined out to left, swinging a hot bat. Does own a grand slam this year, 6 in his career. Outfield is deep. Shade him just a bit to left.
You can make a statement early right here, couldn't you?
This would be big, especially after Westbrook got out of a jam. The top of the third.
Just have to believe psychologically if you get to Hudson. You know, they've got all the rookies that have already lost 2 straight games here. They've kind of been spinning their wheels of late. The only games they have won in this week are the doubleheader they had makeup games on Thursday at Shea Stadium or against the Mets.
Well, right now, you know, you watch Hudson and some of his mannerisms. That's 7 straight balls, but he's shaking his head and really fighting it with the strike zone.
He's hit 2 batters and walked a batter this inning, and now 3-0 to a good hitter.
Berkman swinging away and pulls it foul.
Most hitters today are always going to have a green light on 3-0, but you got to remember, you got a ground ball specialist out there. And that ball was down. Probably what you're going to do with it, probably pound it in the ground.
A 3-1 pitch. He walked him. A 2-0 lead for St. Louis. That's the other thing about Lance Berkman. We knew coming in how tough an at-bat he is because he has one of the best eyes in all of baseball.
Well, that's why he has that great on-base percentage. Roger McDowell, pitching coach, out to talk to Hudson. As the veteran can't really find the strike zone, and that's something you really don't think about him being wild or having problems. He really has had problems at the new ballpark.
And with Berkman, he's not a big believer in working the count. He says if I'm going to see 1 or 2 good pitches, I'm going to offer at him no matter where they are in the count. But he does have such a good eye, he's able to lay off the pitches he doesn't think he has a good chance to hit.
Yadier Molina, single, last time up, drives it into right. Fair ball, into the corner. 2 runs will score. Here comes Berkman. They'll wave him in, and he will score. Molina on his way to third. He'll be out there, but 3 runs come in, and it turns into a huge inning for the St. Louis Cardinals. 5 runs against Hudson. Drives in 3. And this is our Nissan drive of the game.
Slice it down in the right field corner. It's going to clear the bases, but why run into an out? He's got a double. You're in scoring position, but why do this?
5 runs for the Cardinals in that third.
It happens a little bit too often. And not just with Molina. It happens with Pujols. And
Jack Wilson will be the hitter here. Then Jones and Uggla. 1 ball, 1 strike. Underway here in the top of the 4th in a 5-run lead. The Cardinals looking ahead to tomorrow night and that series with Pittsburgh. Loesch and Brad Lincoln tomorrow. Chris Carpenter and Jeff Karstens Tuesday night. Edwin Jackson and Charlie Morton on Wednesday.
Charlie Morton, who looked so good in his first start against the Cardinals, really kind of has fallen on hard times. Real tough second half.
For Kyle again to his left, quickly to first. Nice play. He's fun to watch. Having a chance now to watch him every day, and just some of these plays he makes look routine.
The ball kind of got up a little bit in the middle of the plate, hit back up the middle, and you come to expect it. But you're absolutely right. He just adds a little spark.
Chipper Jones, what a career this guy has had. One of the best switch hitters baseball has seen.
452 home runs, 3rd in the all-time switch hitter list in home runs. 2,600 hits now. He's over 2,600. He's got over 1,000 extra base hits and over 1,500 RBIs. I don't think there's any doubt where he's going to end up.
Yep, 2 of the best switch hitters playing today.
3rd and 4th in the all-time home run list of switch hitters.
Jones and Berkman. Going back to Furcal too, it's so important to have his glove, especially if Westbrook is right and the sinker's working. Stays with it and out in time.
Chipper, who's had 4 knee operations, 2 on each knee. Last year he had the bad one, the ACL surgery, and then this year he's had a meniscus tear. Now scored an error by Furcal, 9th overall, 5th as a Cardinal. That's maybe a little surprising, as well as he's played. He's committed 5 errors since coming from LA.
It was right on cue too.
Yeah. What were you saying about
that? Important to have that glove. Here is Uggla, and that's a base hit out to left. He's 1 for 2 on the day.
Now we're saying that Larry Perry says you hit the bottom part of the ball. Well, it looks like Uggla's swing is always an uppercut swing, trying to hit home runs.
For the better part of this year, he was hitting right around that 200 mark, and then he went on a tear with that long hitting streak.
It was 33 games, but then he had a lot of home runs in that hitting streak. And he's had 18 home runs since the All-Star break to lead the major leagues. He's 1 away from Albert. He's at 33, Albert 34 to lead the National League.
You mentioned it. It's a very good lineup. The Braves have 5 of the top 23 hitters in the National League since the All-Star break. And this is one of them, Freddie Freeman.
About the last 60+ games, he's been on a tear.
One ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Runners at first and second here in the top of the 4th.
Freeman 0 for 4 against Westbrook, but really not enough to make a definitive statement.
Doesn't get the call on the outside corner, 3-1. Situation like this now, 1 swing in the bat, and Atlanta right back in the game.
If you're an Atlanta Braves fan, that's how you think. If you're a Cardinal fan, you say 1 good sinker, and I've got a ground ball double play.
Misses, low and away. Bases loaded for Atlanta.
not what Jake wants in a shutdown inning. After your team gets you 5 runs, you want to go right out there and have a 1-2-3 inning.
Well, you may have had some great seats in the ballpark this year, but have you seen the view from the dugout? You can take a tour of Busch Stadium. Visit Cardinals.com/tours. Those are done all year round. Off season, going to the clubhouse, come up to the broadcast booth, down into the dugout. Cardinals.com/tours. Here's Hinske. Good changeup.
Well, you know, the changeup was such an important pitch for him in his last start when he struck out 9 Reds. Tied his career high.
Mentioned Braves were swept by the Phillies earlier this week, and they've got the Phillies one more time, a 3-game set, final 3 games of their regular season. Primarily they'll play Florida. Got a couple of series with them left. They have the Mets and also Washington. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bases are loaded. Chipper Jones, Ugla, and Freeman.
And I believe the Cardinals have an off day on this road trip on Thursday. And that day, I think the Phillies play a doubleheader.
1-2 pitch. Got him on the inside corner. Strikeout of Hinske. And the biggest of the day for Westbrook, his 3rd.
There are times when you need a strikeout. And look at that ball. Just sinker, just break back. Looks inside. Left-hand here gives up on it. Then it breaks over to the middle of the plate or the corner.
So what you're saying, Al, you have to wonder how that affects their pitching setting up for the weekend.
They have something like 33 games in the last 31 days.
Talking about the Phillies.
Phillies. So they have a couple doubleheaders. They play a doubleheader before us. They have a doubleheader on Tuesday after Cardinals leave. That's a 4-game set, a Friday through Monday. And you know, I think possibly could have something like a Halladay and Worley, another Rookie of the Year candidate, pitching that doubleheader. Or maybe it's Cliff Lee or something, but I mean, where does it really,
They're all
it
so
really
good.
doesn't matter. Cliff Lee.
Here's a high fly ball, right field. Berkman is back. Westbrook out of the jam.
I think right down the hill from the Art Museum was where they had all those flags. One final thing about the Phillies and their starting pitching. When Dusty Baker was here, he said, I was begging for Oswalt. Those other guys just went right through our lineup.
Schumacher with a drive to left. Hinske backing up. It's a pretty telling statement when you're trying to get to Roy Oswalt.
Right. And he made a mention to Walt Jockey. He said, Walt, that's like, our best pitcher is Cueto. He said, that's like having 5 Cuetos.
It's Citizens Bank Park. The Cardinals will be there, as Al said, one of those odd series where you go Friday through Monday. Descalso a check swing on a breaking ball for a strike. We're in the bottom of the 4th, and the Cardinals have a 5-run lead.
I know, by the way, Philadelphia is 49-22 at home.
But as you said, you might be catching them at the right time. Just not knowing how their pitching will set up for that weekend set, coming off a doubleheader, going into a doubleheader.
And the fact that I believe their magic number is 3. So they could clinch before the Cardinals get there.
That's ripped into center field for a base hit. Pitch that was up from Hudson, and Descalso picks up a single.
It's a little better than being hit by a pitch, but 0-2, and the ball just moves right up over the middle of the plate and up a bit, becoming more hittable.
Cardinals pick up 5 runs in the third on just 2 base hits.
2 hit batters and a walk in that inning.
Westbrook was able to sacrifice 2-4 back in the third.
All 5 of those runs came with 2 outs.
One of the things the Cardinals talked about is that in September, they'd like to see some of these younger players get a chance to show what they can do at this level. The problem is, and it's a good problem to have, the club is winning.
That's right.
It's still in this thing.
So they'll sit and watch. And hopefully they can have a lot of fun. But I think the young players understand, as long as you have a chance to win, Tony's going to go with his veteran players. They'll get chances here and there for pinch running.
1 ball, 1 strike. Westbrook squaring again. And again he gets the bunt down. Sacrifice is good. Descalso advancing to second base. And we head back to the top of the lineup in Rafael Furcal. Sack 2-4 twice today for Westbrook.
Well, you help your own cause and really kind of let the bat come back into him a little bit. Kind of had a little different, but he got the job done. Second sacrifice. His first one was in the third when the Cardinals scored their 5 runs with 2 outs.
Furcal 0 for 2, pair of groundouts. Loses the bat. It sticks the fence. Remember, that was the area that had not been covered, that fencing right there where the bat went to prior to the injury to Edwin Encarnacion, or to Juan Encarnacion, excuse me.
And I talked to Barry Weinberg, Cardinals trainer, and I said, have you heard from Encarnacion? Because I get a Christmas card, but every time the Cardinals for years have tried to connect with him and find out how he's doing, and they get nothing in return. But what brought that up was we saw Luis Salazar. He's here with the Braves, and Salazar, during spring training in a game with the Cardinals, he lost his left eye. And the ball hit him, a foul ball off the bat of McCann, went into the Braves dugout, hit Salazar in the eye, and they removed that. But he's back managing again and can do everything on the diamond.
Descalso left stranded after his base hit. We move to the 5th. It's 5-0. Cardinals about hit Atlanta 5-2, and they lead it 5-0 as we move to the top of the 5th. Jason Hayward, first pitch is tapped foul. Hayward, then the pitcher spot, it's Tim Hudson and Michael Bourne. Al, have you had a chance to visit with Bobby Cox since he left managing?
No, I have not. And they've retired his number, and they've done a few things that they're always working. Couldn't get back there, but a couple conversations with him, last year in his last season, and he's gonna, he's got a role with the ball club. But knowing Bobby Cox, and I asked him about whether they were going to use your input on the manager. And he goes, I'm sure they'll ask me, but I really don't feel it's right for me to do so, because I think the general manager is the one that has to work for him, so it should be Frank Wren, the general manager. But I'll tell you one thing, I think he was very pleased that it was Freddie Gonzalez.
Strikeout number 4 for Westbrook.
Sinking action on that ball.
Freddie had some decent teams with the Marlins. Never really got over the hump. And like Bobby Cox, using some of those young players that could be a difference maker.
Well, he also was a coach for Bobby Cox, so he's familiar with the organization, and probably in many ways has just kept Bobby's theme. And Brian Snicker, who was Brian's third base coach. Of course, Pendleton was the hitting coach, and now he's the first base coach.
In play, 2 for Kyle. Steps, throws, 2 away.
And I think a lot of the, what they try to achieve would be in the same mode as Bobby Cox.
What's on Tap is brought to you by Budweiser. Loesch and Lincoln tomorrow will come your way from Pittsburgh and PNC Park at 5:30 with the pregame show. Loesch and Lincoln tomorrow night.
Pittsburgh, 13 games under 500. His first glorious 4 months for Pittsburgh, and they've already been eliminated, 18 games back. So it'll be the 19th consecutive year that they have a losing record. How fortunate we are, Dan, to do Cardinal games, but every year you have high hopes and you're always in contention.
And really, you can take that back to 1996. The team was 1 win away from going to the World Series, up 3-1 on the Braves.
And then those last 2, ugly scores.
Two and 2. Michael Bourne is grounded out and struck out swinging back in the third.
You really have to believe that Westbrook's pitches are deceptive and a lot of movement.
This could be win number 12 for him if the club can hold on. Figured there's a shot for 15.
In so many ways it's been a disappointing year, and then you think about it that way and you go, it's really not. Kind of disappointing how he's pitched at home. Pitched pretty well his last time out, and today he's pitching well. We're all looking forward to seeing those two next season. Got to clean up a little bit on their contracts, though, don't we?
Yeah. Wainwright's a guy that has been picked up as far as his options, those 2 for the next 2 years, and then see Carpenter there, his option at $15 million.
And you could always pay the buyout and then renegotiate that.
3-2 is tapped to the right side. Pujols at the bag and makes the play. Jay, Albert, and Holiday coming up. Sixth, and now today, and obviously with a win today, the Cardinals could be 4.5 back of Atlanta. And at last check, Milwaukee was leading by a run over the Phillies.
And what you always look at is the loss column, and Cardinals trail Milwaukee and Atlanta 5 games on the loss column.
Here's John Jay. You get to within 4.5, it gets awfully interesting. You're right back in it to an extent.
To an extent, because you're running out of games. But with Atlanta Braves now with so many young players, particularly in their pitching staff, they've never gone through the heat of a pennant race. It's a different story. You can have a great season, and then those last couple weeks start to feel the pressure and have it all crumble on you. I'd like to think the same way with Milwaukee. They haven't had that kind of success year after year. See how battle tested they are.
Jay hits it out of play. There's a liner in the left center field. Bourne won't get it. Drops in for a base hit. Jay is thinking too. On his way to second and in there safely. Hard slide into second base.
John Jay really came into this series with a torrid pace, over 500 first games of September, and really had a tough time in the first 2 games. But here he is, second hit, and on base 3 times. Hyundai Exmo Cam. Show you the slide, feet first.
John Jay, the runner at second. Now Pujols, who has an RBI single. It's an out of play. The big blast in this game, the double by Yadier Molina with 2 outs, and the bases loaded to clear the bases. A .330 hitter with runners in scoring position.
So important for Albert in his last few games to get 11 more RBIs.
Hits it down the right field line. It is slicing and foul. Just 2 away, 2 points away from 300. 34 home runs and 12 shy, now 11 shy of 100 RBIs.
I don't think there's any doubt he'll get to 300 again, the 11th consecutive season. But it's a little challenge to get the RBIs. But you know, Albert, he can pick up 4 or 5 in one game. One of his favorite destinations is the first stop, Pittsburgh, on the road trip.
And he's also historically in his career been a tremendous finisher.
Correct. Said all along when that average and all the statistics were down, said just wait, they'll be there at the end.
There's the 0-2. Got him. Strikeout of Pujols. Strikeout number 2 for Hudson. And we turn to our AT&T trivia question. Name the Hall of Famer that hit a home run in his first at bat, never hit another in his 21 seasons.
It's a pitcher. Dwight Wilhelm, Hall of Famer.
Holiday had a home run taken away by Hinsky. Left fielder back in the second inning. And walked and scored in the third. One ball, one strike. Cardinals have gotten to the right-hander Hudson, who's picked up at least 14 wins for the 8th time in his career. Record stands at 14-9. Up the middle, base hit, sneaks on through. RBI for Matt Holliday, number 74, drives in Jay, and it's 6-0.
Cardinals got that 5 runs, but you want to keep on adding on, and Hyundai Expo Cam just shows good video there. The two middle infielders both diving for that same ball, that uncharacteristic for Holiday, who normally hits the ball so hard it just screams through the infield, and that one just had enough steam on it to get through and elude the two infielders.
Here's Berkman, who has an RBI with a walk with the bases loaded. And now they'll get some activity in the bullpen. Right-hander up and throwing for Atlanta. For the Cardinals to win these 2 games and to do it against their bullpen back-to-back is nothing short of remarkable, because the 3 that they have in the back end are as good as anybody in the game.
No doubt about it. But see Martinez warming up, but this year their bullpen has blown 4 saves. They're 0 for 4 in save opportunities. A couple of them against Kimbrel, and also pinned a loss on him. Yesterday, both of those guys, Kimbrel and Venters, were both unavailable.
O'Flaherty's had a really good year.
They're almost historic how well they have pitched.
Yeah. 1-1 to Berkman.
Slow breaking ball really has fooled Albert. Got Berkman on that pitch for his second strike. Hudson, a real competitor. He hasn't pitched well in this ballpark. I came to the ballpark today because I thought I was going to play.
Berkman down on strikes.
Guessing wrong, was an off speed and who slipped the fastball by.
Molina's 2 for 2. Third strikeout for Hudson. That's out of play, and he'll find the seats.
Molina has already set a career high in home runs, and looks like he'll probably get his RBI this year too. At 57.
One ball, 1 strike.
And his high in RBIs was last year at 62.
Out of play.
Hayward kind of inching closer to the right field line, and his best shot is that right center field gap, that right out by the bullpen, where Bourne can fly. He can track down and make up a lot of ground if he puts some air underneath the fly ball.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Up the middle, base hit. A 3-hit afternoon for Yadier Molina. Single in the second, double with the bases loaded in the third, and a single here in the fifth.
And his average back up to 296 with his third hit of the afternoon.
Skip Schumacher is lined out and also struck out, called out on strikes back in the second.
That pitch is way inside.
Schumacher, line drive into right and caught by Hayward. Big day for Molina with 3 hits. Cardinals on top 6-zip. A good man, Tony West, who works in our crew and works very, very hard. He's running all over the stadium, all over the city. Those shots from earlier today. A strike at the knees to Jack Wilson. And we're underway here in the 6th inning. Wilson, Jones, and Ugla. How long will Freddie Gonzalez let Tim Hudson stay out there? Wilson is 0 for 2. Fox tracks this half inning. Brought to you by Chevy. 1-1 pitch. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Milwaukee with a 1-run lead over the Phils.
It's Gallardo against Worley. I haven't noticed Worley, the rookie for Philadelphia starters, 11-1.
The Phillies every day go out there expecting to win. With that kind of pitching,
not only expecting to win, but they got a possibility of a shutout every day.
Right.
Pitching a shutout.
That's over Pujols and a base hit into right for Jack Wilson. Here's Chipper Jones, who was grounded out and also reached on an error.
Westbrook trying to jump up with Albert, trying to give him a little more height. Hyundai bringing that shot.
Where will the numbers be before it's all said and done for Chipper? He said he does want to come back at least one more year.
He's got 452 home runs. Eddie Murray and Mickey Mantle are 1-2. They're just a couple home runs apart and a little bit over 500.
Came up as an infielder. He's played the outfield. That's a shot into right. They throw behind the runner, and slipping on that play was Wilson around second base. There's just certain guys, different sound off their bat. That's the case with Chipper Jones. Very nice pregame ceremony here at the ballpark. Firefighters, police, men and women.
Cardinals gave away 5,500 tickets to first responders. Very nice gesture, and police and fire department were honored in that ceremony.
Dan Ugla. Runners at first and second. He hits it a ton out to left. Holiday makes the catch. And Jack Wilson not tagging up. Stays put at second.
They all thought that it was going to be his 34th home run, especially Jack Wilson. Holiday went back. Almost puts his back up against the wall and hauls it in. Hyundai showing you that catch.
Freddie Freeman with 2 on, 1 out. Here in the top of the 6th.
Last couple left-handed batters are kind of getting the ball inside on them, and they're turning on it.
Freeman is flied out to left and also walked.
Arthur Rhodes starting to throw for the Cardinals.
And a foul tip. Westbrook is due up second for the Cardinals. Be Descalso, then Jake Spott, and for Cowell. Pitch count at 85.
Pitch count isn't so much a factor, but they're starting to get to him, and third time they're seeing him.
Oh, 2.
Get it in on these left-handed batters. You want to make sure you get it up above their hands or right at their hands like the last pitch.
Cardinals 11 games over 500 for the first time since June 10th. The season high is 12. In the air, right field. Berkman over. He won't get it. Wilson being waved in. He will score. And the Braves get on the board with an RBI by Freddie Freeman, his 71st of the year. It's 3 base hits here in this inning.
Pitch coming in on a left-hander, and they just turn and open up on it. Pull the ball. Ball down and in. Lucky it's just a single. That's right in his wheelhouse, isn't it?
Down and into a lefty.
And Wilson scores the first run for Atlanta. And Tony La Russa coming out, and Rotel just got up along with Arthur Rhodes. Hinsky's a batter, but they would probably pinch hit him with Diaz if you bring in Arthur Rhodes, and it looks like that's the call.
This time of year, Tony La Russa taking no chances. Chance to gain ground at the wild card at 6-1. Rhodes.
Arthur been roughed up lately. He's with Texas. Released by them, picked up by the Cardinals. High ERA. Longtime veteran, making his 894th career appearance. That's second among active players to Mariano Rivera. And he has 255 career holds, ranked second to Mike Stanton's 266. Westbrook only allowed 5 hits, but 3 of them came in this inning, the 6th inning. So 5 1/3 innings up to the bullpen again, and Hinsky was a scheduled hitter. That's why Tony brought in the lefty, and they'll counter with Diaz, Matt Diaz, who is very good against left-handers. Second stint with the Atlanta Braves, coming over from Pittsburgh.
1 out, runners at the corners. Cardinals have bounced into a double play today. It was number 156, second most in team history. All-time record 166, 1958 team did that.
That's also the National League record. Arthur Rhodes is looking for a double play right here.
You bet. Outfield is straight away.
Great numbers in first 25 games against the Braves.
1-0 pitch. Fly ball into right. Over to get it. Berkman makes the catch. Runner will tag up from third. That makes it a 6-2 game.
Cardinals need to score some more runs. Just kind of get a feeling that this game is not assured yet. Philadelphia has tied it. Milwaukee, now they've gone ahead. It's 2-1, and they're batting in the 6th.
Strike 1 to David Ross.
No matter what happens in Milwaukee, the Cardinals still have to just win. The only game they can control is the one they're playing. And they can pick up a game on the Atlanta Braves.
For Milwaukee, though, you start thinking, all right, if things go the way the Cardinals would like, I wonder how tight that team starts to get. Running out of time, but that would be their 6th straight loss.
You know, one of the things that doesn't help is their fan base. We could tell up there they were getting pretty nervous. well, right now the Cardinal fans are getting excited with this little run.
1 ball and 2 strikes on David Ross. Foul tip. Cardinals will have Descalso and then Arthur Rhodes spot. And for Cowell, Westbrook, nice job both on the mound and at the plate. Couple of sacrifices as well. Swing and a miss. Arthur Rhodes gets the final 2 outs. The top of the 6th. Braves, though, get on the board. It's 6-2. In 2010, for the 10th consecutive season, Albert Pujols drives in 100 or more runs. Think about the run for Pujols with RBIs, average home runs, but you also think about runs scored. And over that time, it's been just about every year 100 runs scored.
Chambers is on deck after Descalso. You see the youngster.
Diaz stays in the ball game in left field. 2 balls and 1 strike. Hudson has allowed 8 base hits. He's hit a couple. Walked 2.
Martinez back up in the bullpen behind Hudson. Cardinals will be employing their 3rd pitcher. And they go back to the field.
Westbrook 5 1/3, 2 runs, 5 hits, a walk, 4 strikeouts, and a sacrifice. 89 pitches, 60 were strikes today for the Cardinal righty.
The only thing you wish was he'd gone deeper into the game.
On the outside corner, strikeout of Daniel Descalso.
Chambers will be the pinch hitter. We've seen him as a pinch runner, but this will be his first plate appearance. He was everyday center fielder and leadoff hitter for Memphis, led their ball club with 22 steals and hit .277, 19 doubles, 5 triples, 10 home runs. Very, very, talented and good athlete. Still learning the game of baseball.
Off-speed pitch and a strike. Adrian Chambers, 24 years of age. 0-1 pitch. Little bouncer up the middle. Ugla steps and throws. Boy, does he get down the line. Ooh.
That's what they like, that running speed. Football player, leaving Mississippi State. And then he actually took a 24-hour bus trip, invited to a Cardinal tryout camp in Memphis. And they liked what they saw. He went to Memphis, and for a couple weeks he thought that was St. Louis, because he thought it's the beautiful stadium and everything else. Thought this was the big leagues. Then they had to tell him it was AAA.
The 1st and 15th will tell you when it's the big leagues or not.
Very true.
Rafael for Cowell with 2 outs and nobody on. Now, the Cardinals really are missing that element of speed in their lineup. There's no doubt about it.
That's why for Cowell could be very valuable. You re-sign him. Chambers has come up here, and Tyler Green, who still leads the ball club in steals with 10, and he spent most of the year at Memphis. They have that speed, but ball club is hitting so many double plays, but when you think about it, there's not a lot of guys that you could even, attempt to hit and run with. It's very station to station.
3-1. You wonder even if Furcal comes back, it is an element of his speed, but not nearly what he once possessed and what he could do. Here's a ground ball to second. Ugla again makes the play. And we head to the 7th. Cardinals on top at 6-2. For St. Louis. Third pitcher used by Tony La Russa today. Westbrook 5 1/3. And we saw Arthur Rhodes and now Octavio Dotel. First responder, and as Al told you, the Cardinals gave out over 5,500 seats to first responders, their families. Come enjoy an afternoon here at the ballpark.
Fireman Memorial. Beautiful statue, isn't it?
Really is.
I remember when they were trying to do the fund drive for that.
Redbirds with a lead of 6-2. Jason Hayward. Brooks Conrad is on deck. Be the pinch hitter, and then we'll be back to the top of the lineup. A big man, but very short, compact swing when you think about Hayward. Fly ball center field. John Jay, one away. Good start for Dotel.
It'll be very interesting to see if Dotel goes a couple innings. He has the rest. Cardinals would figure they really like him, and there's Brooks Conrad who will pinch hit.
.242 average, 81 games this year. Does have a little pop. One out, nobody on. Conrad, the pinch hitter for Hudson. His day is through. Pulls it foul. So 3 with Pittsburgh at PNC beginning tomorrow night. Off day on Thursday, and then we'll be in Philly.
Over 3 seasons, he has 5 pinch hit home runs in the 7th inning or later.
Another fly ball and a chance for Jay. 2 away. I think you're right, Al. If he cruises like this, gets another quick out, that's only 4 pitches. Why not bring him back for another inning?
He's very capable of doing that. The only thing that they might do is say, well, they want him available for the next couple days, but I think you just got to run your string with, if it's hot right now, you don't know, the next guy might have a bad day, so he's getting people out, leaving them in there.
Top of the lineup, Michael Bourne. Throwing strikes is Dotel.
And you could even possibility of leaving him out there for 3 innings.
If you do 2, why not 3, huh?
Right. Well, in today's game, usually if you pitch 2 innings, you're not available for a day or 2. What's the difference?
Tim Hudson this afternoon, 6 innings, 6 runs, 8 hits, 2 walks, hit 2 batters, struck out 4, 95 pitches. Cardinals put up 5 in the 3rd inning. Ground ball, good work by Dotel.
Christian Martinez will come into this ball game in the 7th inning. He's been up and down with Atlanta the last 2 years. Had a little time in 09 with Florida. He's appeared in 37 ball games. Been used as a starter, long man. He was He called the first time this season from Gwinnett AAA on July 22nd after being optioned on July 2nd.
And it looks like it will be just one inning for Dotel. McClellan getting loose in the bullpen. Big bats here for St. Louis. Jay, Pujols, and Holiday. And you might see Kyle McClellan go the final 2 innings.
Possibly, but McClellan made 17 starts, and he's already surpassed his career high in innings pitched. And he's a little tender arm.
Two and one. Remember Kyle talking about his rookie year this time of the season. Said mentally and physically I was completely done. Just the grind of that extra month.
That's it. A lot of people don't realize, in the minor leagues you play 5 months. End of August you're through.
Fly ball to center. Oh. Monday night on Fox Sports Midwest, we debut 41-92, the crowning of the Hit King. 41-92 traces Pete Rose's rise as one of baseball's greatest and most controversial stars. The crowning of the Hit King, Monday night after Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Look forward to seeing that. You can find Pete Rose just about every day out in Vegas signing autographs.
Find him someplace.
Here's Pujols, chops it to short. 2 away. When I say he's signing autographs, I mean signing for a price.
You ever met Pete?
Oh, yeah.
Good experience?
Yes, it was. Very much so.
Sometimes it's not for people.
Now, very much so. And your dealings with him?
Oh, I've competed against him for a long time, and
I would think he'd be your kind of guy.
I don't know how to take that.
Competitive. Highly competitive.
That he was. That he was.
And I will tell Cardinal Nation you are not a big gambler.
No, I'm not a gambler.
Take it for the competition between the white lines.
Correct. You didn't mind facing Pete because you knew it was basically going to be a single if you got a hit off him. Just better. It was, the guy that has the all-time hits. To compete against him, try to keep him off the base.
A 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Saw earlier for fans that have just joined us following the Rams and Eagles. It's a 31-13 final in favor of the Eagles, but Matt Holliday, really one of the top plays of the season here at this ballpark, was robbed of a home run by Eric Hinsky.
Of all people, Hinsky got well over the left field fence on the bullpen area to bring a home run back.
Holliday hustling down the line, they get him by a step. We head to the 8th, and it's 6-2 Cardinals. Matt Holliday, as we told you, was robbed earlier. Home run, and this was Eric Hinsky back in the 3rd inning. What a great catch. Jack Wilson will be the hitter. The Cardinals with a 5-run 3rd. Added another run in the bottom of the 5th. They lead it 6-2, and this is McClellan.
Kyle had 17 starts and then was taken out of the rotation when Edwin Jackson was acquired. Moved back to the bullpen, and already a career high in innings pitched. His minor league career high, or prior to this season, was back in 04 at Peoria, where he threw 128 innings. And then he missed a couple years with Tommy John. used a lot out of that bullpen. And first 3 years here in St. Louis, 08, 9, 10, he was a mainstay and very good setup man.
Slowly hit Descalso, bare hands. Oh, what a play! Daniel Descalso with an outstanding play, do or die, and makes it with the bare hand.
It's kind of a swinging bunt, gets by the mound. You come in here and you got to field it with the bare hand, throw off balance, let it into the palm of the hand and let it roll down to the fingertips, and get a little bit behind the throw. You know, we use your body. Very nice play.
Here's Chipper Jones. You were mentioning earlier that Cleveland's dealing with a little tenderness right now.
It just, you know, I think it's part of it. He kind of told me that. He goes, somebody with 133 innings pitched. You know, like I said, last time he had anywhere near that was when he started 24 games for Peoria in 04. But, you know, prior to this year, last year he had the 75 innings. 75 in 08, 66 in 09, and 75 in 10.
Here's a 1-2 to Jones. 2-2. Should it be that big of a deal, Al, when you're a starter and then mid-season changing to be a reliever?
Well, I think that, you know, one of the benefits.
And Jones hits one out to deep right field. Berkman is back near the wall. He leaps, and it's a home run. Just over the wall in right.
453rd of Chipper Jones's illustrious career.
Cuts into the lead. It's 6-3.
I think the Cardinals felt that one of the benefits of getting Edwin Jackson is you see the, you know, sinker ball down and in right into the wheelhouse and just sneaks over the glove of Berkman for the home run. Just got over it. And that's one of the things that's happened to Kyle a little bit since coming out of the pen lately, is he's been giving up home runs. And I think part of that is just, you know, not making the same pitches.
Fly ball out to left. Holiday battling the sun. 2 away. So with that, Chipper moving ahead of Carl Yastrzemski, and up next, Jose Canseco.
Canseco just doesn't seem like he should be on that list.
Hall of Famer Dave Winfield there.
Of course, early in Canseco's career, I mean, it looked like he was going to be going to the Hall of Fame.
Here's Freddie Freeman.
But I think when the Cardinals thought that they were going to move him back to the rotation, that would kind of give him a breather, as there were some concern about, you know, his innings pitched.
It's his 19th home run he's allowed, tops for the Cardinals this year. Jones cuts into the lead. It's 6-3. Just a gorgeous afternoon. Hope you're enjoying it. Cardinals baseball on your home of the Redbirds, Fox Sports Midwest. It's 6-3, bottom of the 8th. Now we talk about the Cardinals. If they hold on today, they're 4.5 games back in the wild card. A team that no one is talking about right now, Tampa Bay, if they beat Boston, and right now they're leading 8-1, they're 3.5 games out in the wild card.
Everybody kind of just assumed that the Yankees and Boston, one would win the division and one would be the wild card.
The Rays were 9.5 games back behind Boston on September 1st.
See, it can happen. They haven't got the job done yet, but
Berkman pops one foul and out of play.
Beckett came out with an ankle injury his last start, and that sent him back to Boston to get that examined.
So there it is, the American League wild card. LA only 5 back. Danny Herring, a 4-hit shutout of the Yankees over this weekend. Strikeout of Berkman, and there's one away.
LA is just trailing Texas by a game and a half for the division leader.
Yadier Molina 3 for 3. Big afternoon. Diaz, Ross, Hayward coming up.
Mott warming up.
He's had a tremendous year, hasn't he? Jason Mott.
He has.
Molina with a high fly ball out to center, backing up Bourne to make the catch. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Big crowd today, over 39,000. 39710. 39,710.
Now, if you're a bullpenner, those guys down in the bullpen will give Kyle McClellan a lot of credit, because he pitched it into a save situation for Mott. You always protect the bullpen.
You're always thinking about the closer, Al.
He also gets a hold.
One ball, one strike. Schumacher hits it foul and out of play. Watch out. You mentioned it before, but these fans, and we are too, we're spoiled by the fact that this team is in contention year in and year out. They compete. We head to the ninth, and if the Cardinals win this ball game, 4.5 out in the wild card.
After the game on the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, Pat Parris and Rick Horton will do the honors. The Cardinals keeping hope alive. They'll break down the numbers. A big day for Yachty, and we'll have Tony La Russa's post-game thoughts as well. Jason Mott on for the Cardinals. He'll try to close it out, and we go back to the booth. And Dan and Al, guys.
All right, Jim, great job. Thanks. Mott comes in. Some changes for St. Louis. Nick Punto is at second base. And Skip Schumacher moves to right field.
Jason Mott, if he picks up this save, would have a pretty good weekend. Picked up the win on Friday. His fourth save last night. Looking for number 5 here today.
A 6-3 Cardinal lead. First pitch swung on, and that's at 95. What was it, the feeling of this time of year, Al, being a bullpen guy, and how sorry were you at the end of a season in the middle of September?
It was mind over matter. You know, there were times that physically you felt like you couldn't open a door with your pitching arm, but you knew that you go out there and get your adrenaline flowing, you know, and you do your pregame preparation, you warm up, you kind of do long toss, and all of a sudden things started easing up.
I mean, I think about Mott, who is just like you know, he was a guy that was high octane and, you know, max on everything.
Well, I think he's, you know, Tony even spoke about this today on his radio show, that he's learned how to control his emotions. You know, he's a guy that, you know, really kind of gets on a little emotional and everything, but he's learned how to channel that, and that's very important. He's been on a nice run the second half. Had a long scoreless streak snapped, but it didn't cost a victory.
One-two pitch. Got him. Strikeout. The second half is one of the better ones we have seen in recent history for the Cardinals. 25 appearances and a .36 ERA. Lowest second half ERA since 1946.
Royale, what is Shaq? Juan Acevedo, who would remember that?
One out, nobody on. The 1-0 is popped up. Yachty racing after it. Does he have a play? Over, leans in, and out of room. But a happy fan. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Brewers on top in the top of the 8th. There's a ground ball that's foul. Niger Morgan RBI double. Also a Ryan Braun single to tie it up. Cardinals have not won 7 straight against Atlanta at home since the mid-70s. Here's a 1-2.
Little slider there that's developed. Also, he's worked on his two-seam fastball. He feels that's really done a good job of adding those pitches so a hitter can't just look for the gas.
He's something else right now. Jason Mott. 2 outs and nobody on. Cardinals on the verge of a sweep. Our player of the game presented by Budweiser. Yadier Molina 3 for 4 with a double, pair of singles, couple of RBIs.
Hayward, the last hope for Atlanta. McCann is on deck.
Here's a 1-0 pitch.
And from what I've seen of the Atlanta Braves right now, they may be in trouble the rest of the way.
Yeah.
They are definitely not a lock to win the wild card easily.
There's a 2-0 pitch.
But you would rather be in Atlanta's position than you would the Cardinals.
The 3-0 to Hayward. 3-1.
No free passes.
Braves down to their final strike. 39,000 on their feet.
Make them earn their way on, and there's no better way to close out a game but with the strikeout.
Hayward is swinging a miss. No, he just got a piece.
Just got a piece of it, but something always special when you can close out a game with a strikeout. In this case, it would be striking out the side. He gets Hayward here.
The 3-2. Got it. That time, it's for certain. And it's a win for St. Louis. 4.5 games out now in the wild card. How about this?
Their first 5-game winning streak of the season, and now they got to keep on adding to it.
On to the post-game show, and we're off to Pittsburgh with a lot of momentum. 6-3, St. Louis, and they're right in the hunt for the wild card.